What's going on, world? This is your boy Troy, and today we're going to be talking about some late bloomers, and are you one?
I spit hot fire.
I'm God, bitch!
Look up in the sky, is that a Guna Green Goblin? None of the above, it's a motherfucking dragon. Super Saiyan 2 to a cell, no problem. You put me in a cell, then you got
Bow down, nigga. I'm God, nigga.
What's going on, world? This is your boy Troy, your friendly neighborhood NGTOW, and I am your friend. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about millennials, the millennial generation, which I happen to be a part of, which you probably happen to be a part of, and even if you're not, somebody that you're going to have to deal with. All right, so let's talk about it. Let's talk about some millennials here. It's clear. I believe I said this in my friend's yes. I said this in my friend's video in a response to Stefan Molyneux and his dealings with MGTOW. And one of the things that, he talked about is, as you get older, friends are going to be harder to come by. And I gained a little bit of an insight as I was speaking that. And I want to expand upon that now. Now is that time. And I feel that I'll just refer to us. Us as millennials, I feel, are going to be defined as the late bloomer generation. I think every generation has their things. You have the baby boomers and Gen X and Y and all that. Well, we are Y, but we are, and I said this before, Gen X, which is more, we'll say Brad Pitt, Fight Club, right? His speech, he says, "We are the forgotten middle children of history, gentlemen." And I'd say that we are the forgotten baby children of history. Right? We're the baby brothers. We're the baby sisters. We're the baby children of the world. Certainly of our culture, of our day and age. If you live in America, then of our country. And so, what does that mean? Well, I think that something that an example I use was like with the Brady Bunch, and each one has 3 kids, and there's you have the older ones, middle ones, and the baby ones, and the older ones, they get the attention, right? These are the ones that they go off to college, and the college fund goes to them, and everybody else kind of gets the hand-me-downs and things of that nature. And then you have the middle children, and that's one of the things that made the Brady Bunch famous was Marsha, right? So let's talk about that. But no one ever talked about the baby children. Right? No one ever talked about the kids that was underneath everybody else, the younger ones. They rarely got the story time. They rarely got the character development. And it's it's one of those things that that is, as millennials, that is our reality. And so why is that important? Well, like I say, if we look at 2 generations past, I guess we'll be looking at probably like our grandparents' generation. These are the ones that's getting the vast majority of the tax dollars. These are the people that are really holding the country hostage, right? These are these people get if we talk about the government spending, right? People like to say, well, the military industrial complex and, this and that and all this other stuff. But the main thing that our tax dollars go to is Social Security and Medicaid, which obviously these are old people programs, right? And even then, when they say, well, I paid into it, well, we all know that even though they may have paid into it, they're still taking a lot more from it than they actually put into it. And even then, it's a Ponzi scheme. We all kind of know this. It's not like they put it into a fund, into a government fund, and you know that has their name on it, and eventually you know, they benefit from it. No, like as soon as they paid their taxes, as soon as they paid for their Social Security, Medicaid, or whatever when they were younger, it went to the older generation of their time. Then you know, now they're older, so as a younger generation, we're the ones paying for it. And so we kind of see this with AARP and all these like old folks stuff, where, you know, if a politician even dares come out and even hints and wants to take away someone's Social Security, someone's Medicaid, you know, it's like a lynch mob. Like their political career, at least for that stint, is done. They vote against them. They take everything away. But you know, that's what we see. So they are, and then, you know, I think they call it the greatest generation and all this other good shit. And you know, there's a whole slew of things that we can go through. But so that's kind of like the older children of history. They get in a sense, they got the goodies, right? They got the good life. Now, I mean, you know, some of us, you know, like I say, on the whole, you know, there's some of us maybe have a different ethnic background, different experiences. You know, not saying that everybody hasn't had a little bit of share of their challenges, but on the whole, what they got is substantially better than the deal that we got. And so we look at Gen X, and Gen X is, you know, yeah, they're the middle children. You know, these are the people, and so these are the kids that, because they didn't get the attention that they wanted, that they thought they deserved, right? They wanted to make something of themselves like so big that you know, they got noticed, right? So, and what do I mean by that? Well, this is the generation, it's almost like what I'll call the hyper competitive generation. You know, this is the generation where you know, when we look at you know, the houses they want, these are like, okay, grandparent generation, if you got a big house, it was cool. As long as you had a house, you know, things was fine, you were doing okay. But their kids, or you know, Gen X, these are the people that these are the guys that wanted the big house. These are the ones, this is the generation that wanted the pimped out ride, the tricked out ride. This is the, you know, and at the same time, what we're also looking at here is a group of people who they wanted to do better than their parents, and their parents wanted them to do better as well. So, you know, they stressed education. Right? You know, son, I worked hard. I worked in the factory, or I did this, you know, canning business or whatever. And, you know, I want you to go to college, and I want you to make something of yourself. I want you to be better. And in a weird way, they did. You know, they went to college, you know, got their degrees, got their jobs, got, you know, their houses, their cars, their everything. I mean, everything was it was grand. Now, a lot of it, you know, we kind of see at the end of the day, it could be a little bit hollow, but they got it. And so now, part of their competition, part of them wanting to be better, it also kind of bleeded into when they had kids, which is us, the millennial generation. So now they wanted to be the best parents, right? Then we're just focusing on, all right, well, let's just get through this. It was like, no, now we have to be the best parents. What's the best parenting techniques? What's the child psychology and things of that nature? And now, no spanking and timeouts and all this other good shit. And well, if it turns out that if you give a child compliments and all this other good thing, and it's almost like they took that and they just went full retard with it, right? So now everybody gets a trophy. Now everybody gets a fucking participation ribbon and a medal and things of that nature. And I kind of consider myself sort of lucky. I feel like when I grew up, I was coming into that, but I wasn't. It's not like it affected me a terrible lot, right? Nowadays, these kids, like, it really is kind of an entitlement. Like, it really is like everybody gets a trophy. It's all, like, even then, like the participation trophies I got, it was. Give me a second. We'll take it like this, right? Like, here was your participation trophy, and here is your first place trophy. Like, there's a clear display. Like, okay, you get this. Okay, it's cool, right? I'll just set it on the ground, and then this was your first place trophy. Now, this is your first place trophy, and this is your participation trophy, right? So, now kids are growing up expecting to get the exact same trophy for a percentage, like a percentage of the work, a fraction of the work, right? But so, let me, So like I say, but now we are the product of that. Right, because like I say, Gen X, what do they want? They wanted everything bigger and better than their parents. They wanted the very best, right? So they try to transfer that into their children. We are their children, but the problem is, pretty much everything that they told us to do is turning out to be fucking wrong, right? They taught, like, most of us, honestly, most of us come from a religious background. I mean, we're seeing the highest rises of atheism with our generation, but you kind of understand where most of us come from religious backgrounds. They told us, go to church, right? All this other good stuff. And the thing is, right, it's almost weird because now what they raised in millennials is a group of people who question, right? Gen X, they didn't question. I mean, they may have rebelled, right? That's what we kind of see. Where, even D-Generation X, with the suck it, and I know it's a wrestling thing, right? But it's a reflection of the time. It's a reflection of the people of that generation. Look, they may have rebelled, right? But they were still doing their thing, right? Like, so they may have been like, man, fuck the establishment, fuck this and that, this is bullshit, but you're still going to fucking class, right? At the end of the day, you're whining and griping and moaning and bitching and but you're still going to college, you're still, looking for that big house, the big job, the big everything, right? Like, to you, that was just a phase, right? You never really questioned. Now, you pretty much raised, Gen X have pretty much raised a group of kids who question. Problem is, and so a lot of what we're seeing now is in this, what we call extended adolescence, is a group of kids who never got their questions answered. And now that we are adults, we're not going to move until we get some questions answered, or at least until things make sense for us, right? That's pretty much what we're seeing now. Like I say, grandparents' generation, you did it just because. That's it. That's just what you did. It was tradition. It was values. It was, it was duty. It was, it was your rights. It was your, like, that's just what you did. I mean, you didn't question. Parents' generation, Gen X, it was more of like, you did it because, it was like a proven formula. It was like a proven strategy. It worked, right? You go to church, you meet some great people, you get yourself around, some, this and that, you go to college. After college, you get your degree. As you get your degree, you get a good job, and then all this other good stuff. It was easier to follow the formula. Like, even if all the, well, you ask why? Well, why? Because if you do these things, you get this life. And on the whole, it panned out well for them. Now they're trying to give us the same advice, and we're sitting over here like, okay, well, why? Why? I don't know. Like, why do I gotta pray to God? Seriously, like, why? And so we'll talk about religion. Why do I gotta pray? Right? And go a little bit further, and even in the black community, right? Why, like, honestly, why do I gotta care about this community? Like, honestly, like, why? And then they try to give us these basic things that don't click with us, like things that just don't make sense. Well, because that's shit. Yeah, okay, well, if we're all people and we're all the same, then why do I like why? Same thing with and I know I'm breezing through this. I mean, all these questions that I'm asking could take a whole video in and of itself, a whole lecture in itself. These things can take a whole hour or two, a whole series of lectures. So I'm just I gotta just kind of breeze through it. But so we look at the next thing, and the next thing we'll say education, right? Well, why go to college? Why get your education? Well, this and that. And all right, well, it's not really working out. Well, okay, well, here's the thing. All right, now you got your bachelor's, right? Well, now you just got to get your master's. So once you get your master's, then you're all set. That's like another $40,000-$50,000 worth of debt. Yeah, I know it's gonna be kind of expensive, but just follow me here. Just go along with it. And oh shit, I guess. Oh, okay. I mean, all right. I got my master's. I still couldn't get a job. I'm still working at fucking Starbucks. I don't understand. All right, well, have you tried getting your PhD, or have you tried getting this thing or that? And here's the thing, right? And here's a reason why shit is so fucked up for us millennials. It's because of our parents' generation, right? So now it looks like, oh my God, he's ungrateful. He's this and that. Well, no, here's what happens. Here's a typical thing that happens, all right? When a person gets to a position of prominence, they want to do everything possible within their power to maintain that position of prominence, right? So let's take, matter of fact, I was talking to somebody who's a painter, whose dad is a painter. He kind of works for his dad. He wants to do his own thing. And, he says, when his dad wanted to start his painting company, he just started it. It was like, he started as a young man, and he had to, there wasn't any real paperwork. I mean, you just fucking get the paint and start painting shit, get customers, clients, that type of thing, do what you got to do. So he tells me, and he was like 22, right? Tripping over wires. He's 22, and he's telling me, yo, like, I gotta wait at least 2 years before I even start. I said, why? He's like, well, there's requirements now. Now I need, I think he said, like, I don't know, and I'm this is like second, third hand experience here, right? But he said I need about 3 or 4 years of experience. Then I need to go through a 10-month course. Then I need to pass a test, and then I need to pay a fee. Then I need to get a license. Then I need to like join a union or something. Like, dude, there are like all of these steps, right? And so look, but that's a Gen X thing, because here's the thing, right? And we also see this with a lot of unions, because okay, let's say that you have somebody, he builds his own painting company, he's able to paint, and look, at this time, if he grows it, now he has employees that he has to deal with. Now, you know, he's coming into a higher standard of life. He's probably married, got kids, you know, he's preparing for the future. So he needs to charge more to get more money. So let's say that this other young kid comes up and he doesn't, I mean, you know, he ain't got a wife, no kids, you know, got an apartment or something like that. And he's just like, look, man, I'm out here just grinding. And so he goes up. So let's say that, and they're both bidding on a job. And one of them says, all right, I want you to paint this wall or paint this house, you know, pay me. I don't know what the rates are. Like, I'm about to fuck this up for somebody, but you know, yeah, I could do it all for about, we'll say, I don't know, $40 an hour, whatever. Whatever. And so the younger man comes up, he's like, shit, I will do this whole thing for 20. My expenses ain't that big. I'll go do that. I don't give a fuck. You know, and so, you know, how do you shut that down? Well, you shut that down by inflicting arbitrary requirements. Now he needs this many years of experience to do this. Now he needs to get this license to do this. Now he needs to join this union in order to do this. And now a lot of times, you know, you don't even want to go through, like, you know, it's just like, why do I got to go through this? And you ask why, right? Why do I got to go through this process just to fucking put a fucking paintbrush on a house, to put a fucking roller on a wall? Like, I don't understand that, you know? And so one of the things that kind of paralyzes us as millennials is we look at these things and we see you know, we don't want to do things that just don't make sense. Like, even and we're the first generation that just, like, it's weird. We just won't do something that won't make sense. Now everybody else, they have something within them that they're just like, all right, well, I know it doesn't really make sense, but let me just, you know, all right. All right, I guess I gotta go do the bid. And we're kind of like the first. It's like, well, you know, not really. I don't want to do that on the whole. So, you know, we'll take it a step further. So now, you know, we're kind of seen as a generation, we're lazy, we're entitled, right? We're, you know, that's the main things that they want to say. They look at the men and say, well, the men are, you know, basement dwelling, you know, no good, just lazy dudes, and the women are, and I say, and I've said this too, and I've seen a part of it all, you know, and I'm here to explain it. But look at the women that say no morals, no values, you know, they're just wild, which they're not wrong. I mean, I've seen it, and you look back on my videos. I'm not defending it. I'm telling, like, look, I understand it, right? And so, particularly for, and look, you know, particularly for men, for us men folk, this is a great time, right? So if you're a millennial man, most likely MGTOW, right? If you're watching this, understand you live in a great time. And look, everybody likes to say that we live in the richest country and we this and that, like, not okay, that's great, right? And I could probably do a whole nother video on that, but this is a great time, right? Because to be honest, a lot of the things that just drove our parents and grandparents to go do what they had to do was because of their familial obligations, right? A lot of them, they were sold the dream of, you know, get away, you know. So we're men here, so let's talk about men, right? So they were sold the dream of, you know, you get a wife and a house and a kid and all that other good stuff, and they were sold that dream, and then they went after that dream, and that's all that they really need. That's all they really, and that's what they kind of settled for. That's what they wanted. For us, you know, we kind of look around and we say, well, why get married? Why get married? Well, you know, it's a sacred institution, and it's all right. Well, sacred for who? Why is it sacred for me? Oh, well, it ensures that you know, this and that. I mean, you know what the arguments are, but at the same time, you look back and you say, all right, well, look, it's failing for you. it's failing for all of you. I mean, even for this whole Gen X thing, like, yeah, like, you guys are pretty much sucking at this whole marriage thing. What do you think is going to make me any better? And the laws, they seem to be going more towards the women folks. So what advantage do I have? I mean, fucking advantage. What equal playing field do I have? Shit, I don't have one. I don't. And to be honest, and I mean to be very, very, very honest, and this is most, especially in our generation, and we're gonna see this dynamic play out a lot more in Generation Z, in Generation Zen, the next generation coming up, where the split is gonna happen, and it's gonna be very clear. There's only gonna be two sets of people that are going to get married, right? We're starting to see it now. It's gonna come later, but two sets of people that are gonna end up getting married. Either people too stupid to see what's going on. These are people that, you know, low IQ, probably, you know, maybe 70 something, maybe 80 something, probably got to go pregnant, probably still comes from the remnants of a traditional household. You know, it's my duty. You know, you're gonna have those type of dudes, and then you're gonna have the guys that are like, they can afford it. You know, they got the millions, the millionaires, and you know, they can afford a wife or two. You know, it's almost like a wife is gonna be a luxury. And also, I mean, you know, just gonna throw a little caveat in there, but it's weird because a lot of times, what do they say? Broke people like to do shit to look rich, and rich people like to do shit and look broke or whatever. So, you know, when marriage becomes like a luxury, you know, when you see rich people doing it, right? You're gonna see a lot of low income people actually getting married too, because they're like, all right, yeah, look, that's what all the rich people are doing. Look at me, I got just like why is it all the brokest motherfuckers got like all the best sneakers, right? You got dudes that, you know, drive shit cars, or just, I mean, even then, like, man, fuck the shit cars, right? Dudes that have like no financial plan, no future, have like nothing, you know, lined up. And they have the freshest gear because they want to look like they're that guy, right? I think it'll be the same thing moving forward, but now I'm digressing. Let's get back to the topic of millennials here and why I feel that we are the late bloomers, right? Because here's the thing, right? When I told you that they were sold the dream, and you kind of see this with in our generation a little bit more with, like, you know, like Ben Shapiro, some of these guys. You know, what is it, like 25, 26, 27, somewhere around there, wife, you got a couple kids, he's wrote books and everything like that. Real traditionalist, that type of thing. And look, I'm not against it. I'm just, look, that's his thing. That's what makes him happy. And trying to convince other people to do the same and all that. Like, I get it. And I respect that, right? But my thing is, you know, a lot of times those bonds that we form with certain women, like look, it's just biology. That's why as humans we're set up the way that we are. Like, why is it that a woman's peak fertility comes at a time when a man is his horniest and his dumbest? Right? There's a reason for that. There's a biological reason for that. If it was evolutionary advantageous for men to be at their smartest and pick women, then that means that women in and of themselves would be just, I'll say, biologically, what's the word? I'll just say advantageous to be with a man. But that isn't the case. Oftentimes what you do see is a man gets with the woman when he's, you know, and we'll say, we'll take a few generations back, a generation back, right? Man gets with the woman when he's young, right? Before his brain is fully developed, or our brains fully develop around, I'm not sure about women, but particularly men, our brains fully develop around 25. All right. This is why I'd say, like, dude, if you're a dude, do not get married. Do not have kids. Don't wait until you're at least like 25, 26. At least get to that point. At least, right? And there's a number of reasons for that. But like I say, if we look at generations past, they got married when they were young. You know, they have a wife, got a kid or whatever, and then, you know, he's got to make things happen and make things happen. And when he finally hits his stride around 30, 35, that's when he reaches his peak. And now she's beyond the wall, like she's done beyond the wall. But by that time, good, bad, or indifferent, or should I say good or bad, he has developed an attachment to her. Right? They're not fucking the way they used to. She doesn't look anything near like what she used to. None of that thing. But, you know, by that time, it's all in his head now. It's all his chemicals are firing in a certain way that says, yeah, this is the one. Right? So, but at the same time, here's what I would say. If you would take that same man, that same woman, they were both where they're at, 35, right? He was single, she was single, and you were to say, okay, now let's do this. You have no brain attachments. You have nothing. It's her, it's you. You're both at this point. Would you pick her again? Now, obviously, men under their spell, well, yeah, of course I would. But now you take an objective look, you'd say, no. Most likely you wouldn't. Right? But so why do I say that we are going to be the late bloomer generation? Because look, I think that, you know, my generation, yeah, okay, look, on the whole, we're going through some bullshit like everybody, right? But I think eventually we're going to figure things out. Now, this could be my optimistic side, but I think, particularly as men, we're going to figure this thing out, right? We're going to finally step into a world where we don't give a fuck about religious traditions. We're not going to give a fuck about marriage and marriage traditions. We're not going to give a fuck about, you know, all, you know, the government and the state and, you know, country and, you know, all this other good shit. We're not going to care about that. What we're going to really care about is what makes us happy. All right, so it sounds like, oh my God, these guys, they're going to be so individualistic and they're going to be so, yes, we will be. And that's going to be the best thing that's going to be required to moving forward, right? Because you're going to have a generation of dudes that are going to disregard women. Oh, what does that mean? Right, so you're going to have a generation of dudes that's not going to kowtow to what women want. Like, we really won't care, right? It'll be one of those things where, let me see, and I'm trying to, it's still kind of coming in fresh. So, you know, you got to just kind of bear with me here. But by the time that we figure things out, right, because they say, well, you know, men have an extended adolescence. Right? Men, you know, they're younger for long. And adolescence just means the period of time that it takes for you to figure shit out. Pretty much. Like, I know that there's a Webster's dictionary definition and all this other good shit, but for the sake of, you know, for our purposes here, adolescence is just the time that you take to figure shit out. And by the time that it takes for us to figure things out, we're gonna be in our late 20s, like I think they say now, what, you know, 50 is the new 40, right? Before, if you were 40, then you were like, wow, like you're middle age, but you're looking good, man. Now 50 is the new 40. Well, for men, particularly men, 30 is the new 20, right? And a reason for why that is important to note is because, you know, at 20, like, you know, you think about what your life is typically, right? What your life is supposed to be. You're going to know what you want to do. You're going to know what's going on, this and that, kind of have a life path played out for you in your mind, at least. But now 20 is the new, 30 is the new 20. So now what happens is, you know, when we start to come into our own, when we start to kick it on, a couple of things are going to happen. First of all, our brains are going to be fully developed, right? So a lot of these in past generations, when they were rushed out into life, it was pretty easy. Find a girl, go to school, go to, you know, get a good job, get this and that. Like, it was pretty well laid out. And they just kind of followed their biological urges to get that. And that's kind of where you see a lot of shit is fucked up now, is because that's what they did. They just kind of followed their urges and they just went for it and not thinking about, the consequences for, you know, of divorce and the state and all this other good stuff. So by the time we come into our own, our brains are going to be fully developed. So we're not gonna be so, I'll say, irrational. I mean, we're still gonna do some stupid shit. Everybody does. Welcome to humanity. But we're not gonna be as irrational, for one. For two, and like I said, I'm already seeing this now. I just went to my 10-year high school reunion. I looked around and most of the women have already hit wall. So, like, and I'm thinking, like, by the time that as a man you wake up and you become 30 or, you know, late 20s, 30, and things start to kick on, you start to understand things, you know, you might look around for a partner, but when you look around, you're going to be looking at these women and you're going to be like, no. See, in previous generations, when they stepped into their time, you know, 30s, new 20s. So when they stepped out at 20, they looked around, they saw all these beautiful women, right? Just like when you did, when I did. I stepped out, I was 20, like, women were beautiful. Other 20-year-old women, you know, 20, 18, 19, 21, 22, in that range, like, they're all beautiful, right? Because they're all at their peak. Right? And they're all just, you know, oh my God, all these women are beautiful. It's going to be, oh, get a wife and grow together and all this other good shit and, all, you know, this and that. But by the time 30 rolls around and you look at the women around you, you're going to be like, no. And even the ones that are good looking, right, that haven't hit the wall or look like they've hit the wall too hard, right? Maybe have a job, like, you're still gonna look and still be like, okay, well, you're still 30, good looking, late 20s, good looking, and you haven't found a man yet. You still haven't settled down. Like, what's wrong with you? Right? Gonna be a lot more skeptical of these things. Now, look, if you're a woman, it's gonna suck for you. Welcome. I mean, you know, first of all, it already sucks for you. So there's that. But as far as men goes, yeah, like by the time, you know, especially if you're a millennial and you're in it now, you're in your 20s or whatever, even in your 30s, like, you gotta understand, like, you have the rest of your life to figure shit out. I mean, even then, you look at someone like Colonel Sanders, like 65, it kicked on for him. That dude, you know, now, you know, we got KFCs and shit all over the place. Like, as men, our lifespan, right? We as men, know, you live shorter. You live shorter lives, right? But, you know, our lifespan, living life, and is potentially a lot longer than what women is. Like, if you're a woman and you're like 30, you're kind of done. Maybe 35, you're kind of done. You haven't found that man yet. You haven't, like, your usefulness on the whole has been depleted. It is what it is, right? I mean, I gotta call it like I see it, right? But as far as men goes, yeah, that's what's gonna happen. So I want to talk about another thing that contributes to what we see as far as why the gap is widening, right? Because before, we lived in like a farming, agricultural society. So what you needed, like, it was easier for, we'll say, an 18-year-old woman to be with an 18-year-old man, right? 18 and 18, right? I mean, you know, somewhere around a similar age range. Why? Because when the man is younger and he's at his, you know, what we need from him is years of physical labor, right? So we just, you know, in essence, the more plows that you can pull, you know, the more, you know, things that you can pick, you know, the more physical things that you can do, the better off for you. So that's what society needed from you. So it was a lot easier for a man to just go out, be hard working, and just get the woman, all this other good thing, right? Then we switched to more of a manufacturing society, you know, industry, that type of thing. So from there, the gap started to widen, right? Because now, in order to get your life started, now you have to, you know, you working for a factory or something of that nature. In order to get your life started, you would have to go out and, you know, even after high school, you got to wait till you graduate, right? You know, you can't just work the farm. Like, you know, you gotta wait till you graduate at least. You know, go find a factory job. You know, work for the factory for about 2 or 3 years. You know, get some experience, and then, you know, maybe kind of branch off, do something else. Maybe stay with the company. You're gonna get that gold watch. You know, just kind of, you know, ascend up the ranks. You know, in 10, 20 years, you become a manager. You know, another, you know, 10 years after that, something like that. And by the time you're 30 or by the time you're 40, you know, that's when you're the head manager of like 2 different branches or whatever. So now you're making the most money you've ever made, that type of thing. But that took time, right? You know, so the gap widened. So then we moved into more of a service economy, right? Now, instead of manufacturing, jobs are getting shipped overseas, blah, 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 blah. Now, education became essential, right? So now, instead of, you know, just you know, plowing a field or going to a factory, kind of working your way up the system, now you got to go through about, you know, 4 years of college, at least, you know, just to get that job, right? So now what used to be a gap, like no gap, is widening now. So, you know, we look at, you know, before you graduated 18, you go through 4 years of college, right? And then you start your job, right? And then you start your career, and then you kind of get in, you're still broke, you're still da-da-da, still takes about 2 or 3 years or whatever. So now what used to be a good life rolling forward at 18, 19 is now moving forward at about 25, 26, right? So, but you know, the gap is still widening. And what gap I mean? I mean the men and the women gap, the age gap, the you know, I mean, we'll talk about like that for a second, right? And so now we're coming into a day and age where now they're saying, well, shit, now you need a master's to compete, to even throw your hat in the ring. All right, so that's like at least another 2 years, maybe even 3, maybe even another 4 years, depending on how your financials is working out, and on top of all the student debt and everything like that. So now you used to be able to start your life with a woman at 18 and everything would be good, like you could provide for it, all this other good shit. And now that gap is widened to about 25, 26, and you like 25, and you still haven't started your career yet, right? And at the same time, let's say you didn't do the college thing and you're just, you know, maybe you're trying to get into a trade or something like that. Well, just like I said, when it, you know, with the painting things, now you got to jump through hoops. Now you got to, you know, go through these, I mean, even, you know, one of my friends, he wanted to be a barber. He's got to go through like 10 months of like barber school to work some fucking clippers, man. Like, I mean, it's crazy. So now the gap is increasingly widening. So now it's crazy because now if you're a woman, this puts you in a predicament, because let's say that you want a quote unquote traditional man, right? I want a traditional man, man that'll love me and all this other good shit. Well, with that traditional man comes a traditional path. And if you want for that to happen, you got to wait. Like, so and you're 18, you gotta wait maybe another 8 years, maybe another decade, right? Because that gap is now widening, right? So now it's almost like as women, you're kind of in a weird spot, because now you gotta kind of look at people who aren't so traditional, which aren't so reliable. All right, so now women are kind of in a predicament, and I'll talk about that probably in another video, but more particularly for the men. So now what's happening is, you know, pretty much, like I say, around 30. This is what, and look, for some men, yeah, they look at everything, they say, all right, you know what, fuck it, I don't care, I just want to play my video games, right? I just want to do this, da-da-da-da-da-da, which ain't a bad strategy, you know. But at the same time, when they reach about their late 20s, their 30s or whatever, I mean, not saying, you know, all of them are going to be, I think a good portion of those people, the TFLs, True Force Loneliness type of guys, I think you know, they're eventually going to hit a point when they're just like, you know what? This is cool, but I want to do something, right? I mean, for me, like, I want to do something. I'm not sure what it is, but, you know, fuck it. I want to do something. And so those guys will wake up. Then you're going to have the guys that, let's say that they went the hard education route. They went through, got their masters and everything like that, and they want to get their life set up. And they're like, you know what? I can't even think about a woman or a wife or anything like that. Like, I can't. So then they reach about 30 and they're, okay, finally I'm getting shit started. I finally got my degree and everything set up. Finally. And then they're going to look around and see the women. They're like, oh shit, nope, that's not going to happen, right? But, and then let's take another one. Guys that want to work a trade or do something. I mean, it's still going to take years of going through it, years of you know, kind of grinding. It's still going to take years. And then finally, when you reach 30, that same point that you would have reached at, you know, 25 or 24 a generation ago, you know, now it's taking you to about your late 20s. And I'll just look, when I say 30, you understand what I'm talking about. I'm not necessarily saying at 30, right? Your late 20s, that type of thing, right? And then you have guys that, like, let's say that you did try the traditional route, and I've seen this where guys, they went up and they actually snagged one of these millennial women that whose family has gone through divorces, the same millennial woman who's gone through and has gone through you know, lives in a society that just praises her just for being a woman, right? She gets a participation first place trophy just for showing up, and the world just wants to cater to her, and she's entitled as fuck. And so now this dude and I've seen this firsthand. Like, it just, I've seen this with many dudes around me. And let's say that they do go the traditional route and they do find the woman. Well, now every millennial marriage I've seen has fallen. Everyone. Now there's a few. No, you know what? You know what? I will say there's a few. There's a few. You know what? I will say that. But here's what we're seeing. Normally, you know, when we looked at, you know, some of the divorce rates, like, they've been married for at least 7 years, 10 years, something like that. And like, now that rate is shrinking. Now we got people that they've been married for maybe a year, 2 years, 3 years. Maybe already have a kid, maybe not, but for whatever reason, that unhappiness, you know, like you know, you see with like Gen X, well, I'm just not happy, I'm just not satisfied, I'm just, you know, at least they would at least wait until the kids are out of college, right? Or sorry, out of high school, you know, out of the nest, so to speak. And then they say, all right, well, you know what, now that, you know, we did this for the kids, right? We stayed together for the kids, but now kids are gone, and you know, all right, you know, like, let's, you know, but now they're becoming more and more and more and more unhappy at a more increasing rate. So now, and I've seen this, you know, dudes they're working hard, doing what they got to do, and wife just goes out, cheats or does whatever, and those things are happening at a more exponential rate. So now you're looking at dudes that tried to do it and went through the grinder, got spit out, right? And so now finally, when they reach their late 20s, their 30s, you know, when they reach 30, you know, that's when they're like, well, fuck it, I tried to do the traditional thing, I tried, you know what, and it just ain't working for me. Like, it's just not, you know. But hopefully, and there's another type, hopefully, and this is the type that's probably watching this right now, it's more of the type that I am, where, you know, we really just wanted to take time to figure shit out, right? Before I fully, and I got my degree or whatever, but like, before I fully commit to this whole education thing, I want to know why. Like, before I commit to this whole woman and marriage thing, you know, this whole like, I want to know why. I want to know what's in it for me. You're probably the type of person that really wants to dig down and really think things through, which I completely understand. You know, obviously I'm the same way. And when you finally get all of your answers, you know, it's gonna be when you're in your late 20s or your 30s. So like I say, on the whole, this is going to, and there's more examples, I know there's more, but there's gonna come that time when, you know, pretty much as a collective, as men, when we kind of wake up and we start to step into our own, right? Now it's gonna take some time, and at the same time, like, it might be a good thing, because look, there are institutions that honestly I feel that, you know, I'll say need to fall or need to change in order for us to actually manifest what it is that we're supposed to manifest. You know, I feel that you know, all these institutions and things of that nature, they were able to work for a generation at a certain time, but not anymore. And so when we start to see the decline, like I say, there's always a check and a balance. There's all, when one door opens, another one closes. I mean, that type of thing. So one closes, another door opens. But, you know, so yeah, we're going to see the decline of a lot of institutions, and we're going to see, you know, varying birth rates and things of that nature. But that's going to create different circumstances and different opportunities that particularly single men are going to be able to take advantage of. Now, what exactly that is, that's going to be a different topic for a different time. But I feel that when things finally do happen and things do finally kick in for us the same way that it kicked in for everybody else, right, we're going to be spending more of our time doing things that we want to do. Right, before, when it kicked in for previous generations, they wanted to, you know, like I say, the family and the wife and kids and things of that nature. And, you know, look, am I going to say that we're not going to have kids? Yeah, we're going to have kids. Some of us already do, like I said in some of the examples. But at the same time, now that we're coming into a world where, you know, birthing options, you know, it's not just, all right, I got to get a wife, fuck a bitch, and have a kid. Now it's like, you know, like, well, wait a minute, we can do artificial insemination in 5 to 10 years. I mean, you know, we're going to be able to, you know, pretty much grow kids in Ziploc bags with tubes. I mean, we're going to be able to do a whole lot of things that previous generations, they just weren't able to do. Like, we're going to be that generation. So we're going to be doing different things. And like I said, as a man, and maybe this is a little bit of encouragement, and if you've made it this far, how far along we? God, I've been talking for like almost an hour. God damn. But if you're a man and you have made it this far, I would just want to continue to encourage you. If you're a man and you have made it this far, and it doesn't seem like there's a light at the end of the tunnel, trust me, there will be. There absolutely, positively will be a light at the end of the tunnel for you, right? We're literally just sifting through other especially as a man, you're right now sifting through other generations' bullshit. You're sifting through females' bullshit. You're sifting through it all, but then there's gonna come a time when other generations, just as every other generation has done, just like our generation will do, it'll start to fade, or it will fade, and it's already fading. And now, once you reach your later 20s, your 30s and shit like that, you gotta understand that whole draw to that whole female draw, yeah, that's gonna wane, right? No, not saying you're gonna become a monk. You're not gonna want to have sex, you know, all this other good shit. But you're not gonna fucking worship pussy the way that, like, you know, your early 20-year-old self did, your 20-year-old, your 19-year-old self, right? You're not, hopefully, you're not gonna fall for the same traps that a lot of these other dudes kind of fell for. You know, we're going to enter into a world in which we start to make, as men, we make things happen for ourselves. We're going to enter into a world where, as men, we come in to who we are supposed to be on our own terms, on our own accord. That is going to be us. That is going to be our legacy. Now, look, we look at past generations and their legacy is mainly wrapped around family and all this other good shit, which is fine. I mean, I guess if it wasn't for them and that bullshit, then we wouldn't be here, right? Because we're probably somebody's legacy, right? Our dads our granddads, they're gonna go to the fucking grave and not have most of them, they're not gonna have much else to show for it but their quote unquote family. And if you understand what I said earlier about family and things of that nature, then you'll understand that on the whole, your family, as a man, your family shouldn't be your legacy. And it sounds harsh, but because at the end of the day, no one gives a fuck about your family. No one gives a fuck about your kids. No one cares about, like, they'll still give you a little pat on the back, right? But at the same time, that's a woman thing. Right, a woman's thing is, well, I had a kid and, he grew up to be great and this and that. Oh, that's great. That's great, Helen. You've done a great job as a man. Your legacy is defined on what you do in this world. Right? Your legacy is defined based on like the shit that you're able to produce for people in this world. Now, if you happen to have a family while you're doing that, that's cool. If you happen to do something and, and make something and you're able to finance a family and all that, like, that's cool. But at the same time, I look at someone, and if you haven't heard of them, most likely you probably have. If you like to listen to motherfuckers that talk a lot of shit for a long period of time, then you're probably familiar with the Stefan Molyneux of the world, and it's like, you look at someone like him. Do you care about him because of his family? Right? Like, say he has a wife, daughter, but there's no free domain radio. There's none of that other thing. Like, it's just him, his family, and he works, and he would have worked at a tech company, or he would have been at, like, no one, like, if you're in that industry or something like that, you'd care, you'd know. But on the whole, you wouldn't care, right? But it's because he's done this thing and he's left his mind out there. He's left his legacy out there. He's continuing to put great content out there. That's why we care. And I think that this generation is primed to be the generation that that can produce more men like that than any other generation past. And if that's you, right, if you're listening to this, and that's you, then understand your best years are still to come. Even when you reach 30, hell, by the time you reach 40, you're not even halfway done with your life, man. On the whole, right? We're living longer and all this other good stuff, but, that's pretty much all I got to say for right now, man. I've talked a whole lot of shit. I've had a lot of fun. I got a lot of shit off my chest. But, with that, I just say leave a like if you liked what I had to say. That's cool. Leave a comment below on what you think about the late bloomer generation that is millennials, particularly millennial men. What do you think the future holds for us? As always, if you wanted to support the channel, there's probably going to be a Patreon or a PayPal link somewhere that you can donate to if you want to. But if you want, here we like to, excuse me, because I need some water. But here, we like to give you more content, just more value, I should say. So, if you really would like to help out, head on over to the Enlightenment Manual. It is the greatest self-discovery system in the world. If you don't find something within that system that doesn't help you, that doesn't dramatically change the way that you view yourself and your potential, you get a lifetime money back guarantee. And because it's digital, you get to keep the motherfucker if you want to. Go to the Troy Mason Exchange. A lot of great products there. I take them myself, and I must say that look, diet, exercise, I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing well. You can't get up here and talk shit for almost an hour and still feel good. Like, I still feel good. Like, I'm probably, like, later on today, now I've recorded maybe 2 or 3 videos, but later on today, I'm gonna go and do at least another 2,000 calorie workout because, I'm that active, and these products help me to do that. So if you want to get on more of your grind, I'd say have at it. But look, man, there's so many ways to support the program, to support the show. But if not, I just want to, thank you anyway. You know why I want to thank you? Because I'm your boy Troy. I'm your friend, and I will see you on the other side.
The dick was good. But it's the only problem, though. She said the dick was so good that as she started rocking, she just got into it, and all of a sudden, she said something just hit her. Bam! All upside his head. Just slapped him. Dick will make you slap somebody. So y'all need to remember that. That's what I'm trying to deal with. The fact.
More like constipated, cause you know I do not take shit. Maybe honey, give shit. Give this misfit. Like a small condom on this dick. Words are like bullets and my bullets go ballistic. Beat hit hard, Ray Lewis, hold a hit stick.